Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, dude, I am so pumped to be covering this episode. And I know I say that about every single episode, but this one, I'm so excited. We are covering 2006, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yes, and you really have been telling me a lot about how excited you are for this movie. She was texting me during watching the movie or rewatching, saying how much she loves this movie.
Dude, it's such a good movie. If you guys have not seen it, stop, go watch it. No, wait, don't stop. We want to keep you here. But it is so good. You have to watch it. If you are a horror fan, it is like a love letter to horror and slashers.
Yes, it's a mockumentary about a serial killer, and they do such a good job.
They really, really do. Okay, let me read the IMDb description. The next great killer and psychopath has given a documentary film crew exclusive access to his life as he plans his reign of terror over the quiet town of Glen Echo.
And this is currently, as far as at the time of this recording anyway, I found it on AMC Plus on a free trial. Other than that, I couldn't find it for free.
No, I had to rent it.
Yeah.
I will say I would totally do this. I would be Taylor in this movie.
Okay.
I would be like, oh, I get to interview like slasher killers.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yes. And one of the really fun things about this movie right off the bat is you realize that we are in a world where all of the horror icons like Freddy, Jason, Michael are real.
Dude, like, I think that speaks to the writing. Like, they let you know right off the hop, this is what you're in for.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So it had a very, very low budget. Very low budget.
Okay.
I couldn't find the exact number. However, the box office only made $69,000. However, it was very limited. It didn't have a full release.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of like distribution behind it. So I think that is why it probably didn't. However, since being released on like DVD and streaming, it now has a deserved cult following.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talk about this before. I've actually seen this movie years ago, but I have this problem lately where whenever I watch something, it's like in my brain and out, in one ear and out the other, basically. And it's so frustrating.
No, dude, me too.
I'm like, I've seen this before. Why can I not tell you a single thing that happened?
Because we just watched too many movies.
Probably.
And it's like, it's the same thing. And I think I said this to you about another movie. I was like, I really liked it. Couldn't tell you a gosh darn thing about it.
Yeah.
But I know I enjoyed it.
Right.
Yeah.
You remember how it made you feel?
That's right. I hope we make you feel good. Okay, so this was written and directed by Scott Glosserman. And I'm going to link it in the show notes, but I watched a really great screening on YouTube.
Okay.
And they do like an interview Q&A with the director and some of the cast. It's really great. And I learned a lot about him and the movie. But really quickly, I just wanted to touch on something that I thought was very interesting. Scott Glosserman has a company called Gather Us, I believe. And it's gather.us is the website. And basically the company helps event organizers in planning, funding, and selling events, as well as booking creatives, filmmakers, authors, and lecturers. They work to distribute films that don't have the kind of backing it takes to go nationwide. They have distributed hundreds of films in thousands of theaters since 2011.
Wow.
I think that is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
So like, you know, these movies that don't have the backing or can't get their movies out or seen, this company steps in and helps them get screenings.
I love that.
Isn't that wicked?
Yeah.
And knowing that he made this movie and it's obvious that he's very passionate about it and it was like, you know, a labor of love. I think it's so cool that he took that and made a company to help other filmmakers.
Yeah, he's giving back.
Love it.
Awesome. Should we just get into it? Do you want to start with any other fun facts or should we save them?
I'll save them for as we go along.
Okay.
Because there are a lot. There are so many. Oh,
I'm so excited.
Dude, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to tell you all about it. And there are a lot of Easter eggs in this movie.
Yes.
And I have a list of all of them.
I probably caught a handful, I would say. There are a couple little things here and there. There's like one that I wrote down. I'm like excited about the one.
No, I love
I'm gonna
that.
say.
There's a lot of like obscure ones too that I didn't even catch. I didn't pick up on.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot I didn't pick up on, so I'm very excited for you to tell me.
Hell yeah. All right, shall we start?
Yes.
Let's go.
So we start by seeing a waitress who's working at a restaurant, and we see her taking a garbage bag out to the dumpster. And we find out that this is Kelly. Her name is Kelly. She thinks she sees something in the distance. The door slams behind her. And then we see title card.
Yes, it's very horror slasher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very trope driven.
Yeah.
Very yes, like you said, classic slasher. So we don't really know what's happening here, but that is going to come back into play. So after the title card, we cut to what I thought was a news anchor at first. It's Taylor, your girl Taylor, who you said you would be in this movie.
Yes, I also believed that it was a news report. I didn't realize at first that it was just the opening of the documentary.
Right.
Because it comes across kind of like a news report.
It's her cadence.
Yeah.
How she speaks. She's like, and tonight in what is it? What is the place
Glen
called?
Echo.
In Glen Echo. Like it's a very news anchor voice.
Yeah, totally.
But yes, she's filming something for this documentary. And she starts talking about the horror icons like Fred, Jason, Mike, and she's on Elm Street. She's trying to get interviews from neighbors. This is the one that I know for sure. We see one of the neighbors that she's trying to interview asking about his neighbor Frederick, by the way, which I feel like I've never heard anyone call Freddy Krueger Frederick except for you.
Right? I do.
I wrote that down, Frederick. But Kane Hodder makes a cameo as one of the neighbors, which he played, some would say, the most iconic version of Jason
Absolutely.
in Friday the 13th.
Absolutely.
So that was excited. Immediately I was like, Kane Hodder on my phone, like, little Easter egg.
I saw one. I found one.
I found one.
Yes, I love that. You're bang on with that one.
So that's probably the one that I'm going to point out. Laura's going to point out the rest of them for you. So now she's in front of the house of another horror icon in this world, Leslie Vernon. And she tells a story of, well, really all of his lore. So the long story short is that I guess we won't get into that quite yet because we are going to get into it in the library later. But we do know that the people of the town dragged him to a waterfall, threw him in it, and killed him after he killed his parents. Essentially,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. And when they go up to the house, it's also important to note that it's Taylor, and then she has two film cameramen with her, Todd and Doug.
Yes.
What I thought was really interesting is each cameraman comes at it with a different perspective in the sense that one of them, I believe it's Todd, comes at it from like an artistic creative, and you can tell by the way that it's shot. Whereas Doug is very straightforward, and you can tell by the way that the camera moves.
Oh, that's really cool. I did not pick up on that.
No, I didn't either until I read about it. But yeah, when I watched it back, I was like, oh, you can definitely see that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And they also have their own personalities. We don't see them for the majority of the movie, but we will toward the end or in the end. It's interesting because like you can tell throughout the movie that Todd thinks Leslie is cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So he's definitely like chuckling at the things he would say. And I don't know, like he's kind of winning Todd over, but we don't really hear much from Doug until the end.
Yes. And I flip-flopped it. Doug's the creative and Todd is the more straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So they're searching for Leslie on the property and he ends up like jump scaring them. We find out right away he's like a prankster. He really likes to mess with them.
He's very charming.
Yeah.
He has like a very magnetic personality and he doesn't appear to take things very seriously at first.
No, he's very casual about it. Like, hey guys, I'm Leslie. What I really love about this movie is it truly feels like an actual documentary.
It really, really does. Yes,
it's
absolutely.
So funny.
Yeah.
So we'll get into more of like the little things too as we move on, especially Eugene.
I love Eugene.
I love Eugene. Okay, so he takes them in the house. He shows them his turtles.
Yes, and the turtles, that is a little Easter egg. Okay. So the turtles' names, I believe, are Church and Zoe.
Yes.
And they are homage to Pet Sematary.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, what's not cute though is that he says he only keeps pets that he can eat.
Which it's hard to tell if he's joking because he is, like you said, he's like a prankster and he kind of likes to like fuck with them a little bit.
But then we do end up finding out that part of the lore is that turtles picked his bones clean when he was killed in the waterfall or in the river.
But none of the lore was real.
True.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So like, I think a lot of it is just a work.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says something about, he kind of alludes to the fact that he's trying to starve the turtles. He's like, yeah, they just won't die. And I'm like, okay.
And he does it so jolly too.
Yeah. So then he asks the cameraman, I believe this is Todd, if he has a deck of cards on him. He's like, yeah, I want to show you a magic trick. And he's like, no, dude, why would I have a deck of cards on me? And he's like, check your front pocket. And this is where he starts to win Todd over.
Yes.
Like Todd's like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
He thinks he's like so cool. Have you ever experienced like that with a magician?
Not firsthand, but I have been to a couple magic shows. It's really cool.
I was like at some like after a wrestling show, and there was a magician there, and he did some like crazy shit. It freaked me out, man.
To you personally?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, he was there, and he was like, "Can I do a trick with you?" And I was like, "Okay." And it was something with a coin, and it was just like, no.
I just imagine you saying, yeah, he had a coin. He pulled it out from behind my ear. Like it wasn't behind there. How did he do that?
No, it was like way more complicated than that. And I remember being like, this is like some weird wizard shit. Like, I don't like this.
Oh, I want to know what it was. I want the details later.
Yeah.
Maybe in the extended.
Sure.
If you
I can
remember the
remember.
details. I'll write it down.
It was a while ago.
Oh, if you can remember the
Yeah,
details of
yeah.
the trick. Yeah. Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But either way, there is an extended version of this episode on our Patreon.
Yes, always.
All right. So he tells them that every night on the anniversary of his death. So it's implied here he did die, right? So he kind of came back from the dead.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the lore.
Yeah. The lore is that like, it was never confirmed that he died because they never found a body.
Right.
So like the town made up these like,
right.
these stories about him.
And they think he's dead.
They do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So every night on the anniversary, every year, I did write every night, every year on the anniversary of his death, the local kids dare each other to stay in his old farmhouse. And I love how even the little things, like they went through the detail of how he has this farmhouse. She's like, do you own this? And he's like, yeah, it's in a trust. And he's like, I can't come forward and claim it because everyone thinks I'm dead. Like that would be ridiculous.
Dude, you know what I think that this movie does so well? It answers questions that you have when you're watching horror movies.
Yeah.
Like, for example, who the fuck owns this house? Like, why is it just standing there?
Why does it have electricity?
Why is there electricity?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
things like that's what I mean, I could go on and on about how great this movie is, but I love that they address pretty much every single thing in a horror movie that makes you go, wait a second, this can't be real.
Yes, I love it. So they really thought out the logistics of this, and he just keeps fucking with them in little ways here and there. So they cut to a scene where he's training on a heavy bag. They're just going to different parts of this documentary. I love it. He's talking about all the cardio he has to do as a serial killer, which I'm like, yes. Or as a, like a Freddy or Jason.
Yeah, like he's basically saying like, they're hauling ass and running, and I have to appear like I'm walking. Like I need a lot of cardio. I need to be in really good shape. And they show him like hitting a heavy bag and stuff. Like I loved that because it's true.
Yeah,
that's why I liked In a Violent Nature, because you got to see him just walking. And a lot of people were like, oh, he's just walking, but I'm like, yeah, but I wanted to see the killer do that,
like his POV.
Yes,
yeah,
because it does take a minute.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Leslie's explaining the whole process to this documentary crew. They go to a school, right? It's like a school or a college or something where he's showing them the different kids.
Yeah, it's like a campus.
Yeah. I imagine they're college students. We're just going to go with that.
Yeah.
And so he picks out a group of kids and he's showing them like, yeah, I've been tracking them. He's like, the main girl is the key. Like she is the survivor girl. They don't call her final girl, right?
No, they call her survival girl. Because he's kind of going through these things called like his steps. So the first step is like scouting it out and finding a location.
Yeah.
Then the next step is finding the group. And he kind of like shows different people. Like he's like, well, you need to have like see these two guys. Like they're not going to fight back. Look at them. Like he talks about it being a very specific group of friends
that we see all the time in those movies. Like,
yes,
I Know What You Did Last Summer, where he's like, yeah, the main girl, she needs to have a group of friends, with healthy libidos, just all these tropes that we see in horror movies. When he points to those two guys off to the side, he's like, the stoner kids, they'll be good to pad your numbers later on in the movie. Or he didn't say movie, but later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we see in those movies all the time.
Yes, exactly. And he does point out a girl as a survivor girl, and he says that she's a virgin.
Yeah, she needs to be a virgin. And
And Taylor's like, well, how do you know that she's a virgin? And he kind of explains it. I mean, it's very like,
he basically explains that it's like a natural thing for him. That's his instinct. Like,
right.
Of course I know.
And she like turns and sees them, and he's like, did you see that? We have a connection.
Yeah. Which someone who is, a sociopath probably would think.
Absolutely. For sure.
So he is asked if he already has a girl picked out, and he's like, of course I have a girl picked out already. We'd be way behind schedule if I didn't. Like, just kind of laughing at them like, you idiot, why are you even asking me that?
That's so good.
Like, don't you know? So now they're back at a diner, and the diner that we saw in the opening, and we realize that he's stalking Kelly, the girl that we saw.
Yes, and he calls this a flyby. This is step 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't even get all that detailed in the steps. I love it. So he explains to them how he knows what Kelly does every night. You know, she takes out the garbage, and then I'm going to be standing over here in the bushes. She's going to think she sees something. He's describing what we saw in the opening scene.
Yes, exactly. And the best is like he has Taylor come with him to actually do it, and he breaks down how he gets the door to slam.
Yeah.
He like ties fishing wire to the brick that's outside the door and then pulls it.
Yeah.
Again, I loved that because there are times in horror movies where like a door will slam and it's just like there's no wind. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And he explains how he does it.
And yes, and like you said, he makes Taylor do it or asks her to do it, and she's more than willing. She's like, okay. And I remember thinking there, like, oh, like why are you complicit in this? Like, you're okay with him stalking her, which we'll see develop as it goes.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'm like, I would not want to be involved.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like a curiosity. I think she also like doesn't quite believe that he is a killer.
Yeah. It's not real to her yet.
It's not real to her yet. And earlier in the film, when she's asking him questions, she specifically asks him kind of like why he does it and stuff. And he talks about Chucky. He kind of talks about like, he doesn't really explain it, but he shows her how he does it.
Yeah, and he's like, if you are going to understand it, you have to understand it or it has to be your own understanding of the process.
Exactly. And that's why she's kind of like, you know, and I from a journalist perspective, I kind of understand why she wants to like, she's so into it. But I do think there's that like, that rush of like, risk and he is so charming.
He is very charming.
And he's a good looking guy.
Sure.
And he's very friendly towards her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he would be a serial killer.
No, and that's exactly why I don't think she really believes that he is.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Todd and Doug do either.
Yeah.
Because who knows? I mean, listen, there are people, like, there are weirdos everywhere. Like, he could just be somebody that, like, thinks that he's you know what I mean?
Right. And they're like, sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I just assumed that she knows he's serious because this is a world where Michael Myers and Freddy exist.
True.
Because she even mentions like the supernatural serial killer. So like that is a thing in this world.
Yeah.
But it could be a situation where she's like, sure, we're just going to get a story out of this guy. Let's just go see what's up.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to like ponder though.
So he tells them, you know, she's going to turn back around. I'm going to disappear. You pull the fishing wire. The door will slam. This is exactly what's going to happen. And then they do it. And it goes step by step how he described it.
And Taylor, Todd, and Doug are like so pumped by this.
Yeah, they're adrenalized.
Oh, yeah. They're like, wow, Leslie, like, oh my God, it actually worked, blah, blah, blah. And then for like a split second, we see an individual that we're not introduced to yet.
Right.
But I believe one of the cameramen say like, hey, who's that? And Leslie very quickly is like, nobody. And he hops back in and just like closes the truck door. He doesn't want to address it.
Yeah. So you immediately know, okay, that has to be someone, but we don't know who it is yet.
Yeah. And it's pretty quick too. I thought they did it really well where it was like, wait, did I see somebody?
Yeah, it was very in passing and it's so dark you can't even, it's not obvious to us either, like who it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
He does tell them here, the point of doing this is he's trying to make Kelly just a little paranoid. He definitely does.
Yeah.
So the next day they're going to a farm to introduce the crew to Leslie's mentor, Eugene, and his wife, Jamie.
I love Eugene. Can I tell you something about Eugene?
Yes.
So Eugene is based off of the character from Black Christmas. Have you seen Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas? Okay. So the serial killer in Black Christmas.
Okay.
It is a homage to him. Originally, it was going to be that character Billy Lenz. It was going to be him, but they changed it and instead they just did a homage. But the idea was like Black Christmas is, I think, one of the best slashers. I think it might actually be my favorite slasher.
It's iconic.
It is. And it's underrated and it isn't in the same, I don't want to say league, but I don't think it gets the recognition that say like Halloween or, you know, the Jason movies, whatever, the Friday the 13th. And so this was sort of a way of like tipping their hat to Black Christmas and that specific character.
Oh, I love that so much because that makes so much sense with all the things that he says.
No, right?
Yeah. And Black Christmas is a very early slasher.
Sorry. Okay. No, you're right. It is. I'm laughing because
Sorry, we got the giggles.
We have the giggles. It is. It was an early slasher, and you're right. There wasn't like a big charismatic character to latch onto,
right?
Or like a masked character to latch onto. I personally think Billy Lenz is terrifying in Black Christmas. Like that movie legitimately scares me.
No, for real, and it feels real. It's less flashy. I think that's what makes it, you know, not as talked about as something like Friday the 13th or
absolutely. And it's Canadian. It was filmed in Toronto. It was filmed at, was it York University or the University of Toronto? One or the other. Okay. But yeah, filmed in Toronto.
Oh, that's awesome.
I friggin' love that movie. We should cover it at some point.
Oh, I'm down.
Yeah.
I love that Eugene was based off of him. I mean, we'll talk more about Eugene soon because the crew is going to talk to him a little bit too.
Yep.
Leslie does say when he's pulling up to the house that, and Jamie, his wife, she's so hot. He just says it in passing. The reason I bring that up is because I have questions about Eugene and Jamie's relationship. I don't know if we have answers to it, but we can discuss a little bit. But just little things here and there started to add up. We find out that Jamie is significantly younger than Eugene, or at least looks like it.
Yes, and she is a final girl.
Okay, so that was one of the questions I had when I was first watching this. I was like, she has to be someone that he like, maybe not captured necessarily, but they say something toward the end and we'll get to it, or like later on in the movie, we'll get to it when that line comes up. But there was something said in the dialogue between Jamie and Eugene where I was like, wait, what is the dynamic here?
Yeah, I don't know if they specifically say she's a final girl unless I just missed it, but that's the impression that I got from them.
I don't think they say it, but it also is the impression I got. Like in his movie, quote unquote, she would have been his final girl. Yeah. Or Survivor girl.
Exactly. And her name is a homage to Jamie Lee Curtis, which I feel like...
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I thought... I feel like that's an obvious one, but I figured I would...
Yeah, but you never know for sure. It's a common name.
Right. Exactly.
So then when they get there, Jamie's like, oh, hey, Eugene is in the backyard. He's in, you know, his deprivation tank or whatever. And you're like, okay. So she's like, can you go get him? I keep getting distracted and I just keep forgetting. And they're like, okay. So they go in the backyard. I'm thinking he's just in a tank.
Right.
He's literally in the ground. They dig him up and there's a tank underground. And we find out that he's been down there for days.
Dude. Okay. Being buried alive is one of my biggest fears. Like I can't even watch it in a movie. Like it makes my whole body like feel uncomfortable. Yeah. That claustrophobia, the fact that he just like voluntarily goes into that tank and gets buried.
Yeah.
It just speaks to how kind of banana pants he is.
And was it implied that that was like a training thing he was doing?
I think it's like, I think it has something to do with like probably mental fortitude or something like that.
Yeah. So they literally dig him up. Jamie's like, oopsie, LOL. Forgot he's been down there for 2 days.
Yeah.
Jamie is also dressed like a 50s housewife. She's making dinner.
It's all very normal. Like,
yes, very casual.
Yeah, like it's like honestly like just going over to her friend's house and having dinner. Like they're all like chatting and they're kind of like referencing, or at least Jamie is referencing what's his face? Leslie's like job.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like, you know, of course I'd want him to like have a different field, but whatever, he loves this and he's good at it. And she just like, they're talking about killing people like it's some kind of hobby.
They talk about it like I'm sure our family talks about us wrestling. Like, yeah, I wish they chose something safer? Sure.
Right, exactly. And I thought that the dynamic between all of them, they all had such good chemistry.
Yeah.
You know, it was really good.
And they keep saying how they are very proud of Leslie. They support him fully. Eugene is like his mentor, so he's giving him advice. They kind of like brainstorm at one point where, you know, Leslie's saying, I don't know. Yeah, I found this girl. She's coming through. I'm thinking about picking off one of her friends. And Eugene's like, I don't know about that. Like that might, you know, bring too much heat on you. And then Jamie's like, what about the library? Like they're all brainstorming on what to do.
They're like talking about all this. And so a couple of things to note about that scene or in this scene. The Hellraiser's like box is sitting on a table in that scene when she's interviewing Eugene.
Oh, okay.
And then another thing that I thought was really interesting was when Eugene, Leslie, and Taylor are all outside and Eugene is barbecuing. I think he's like making sausages or something like that. And she's questioning them. Like, she's not on board with obviously killing people.
Taylor.
Yeah. And Eugene talks about Freddy and Jason, but he refers to them as Mike, Jay, and Freddy, and how they brought, you know, serial killing to like the next level.
Yeah.
Like creating a curse, changing the business.
He reminds me of like an old vet in wrestling.
100%.
Yeah.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And Taylor says, she asks if it's the business of supernatural killing sprees. And Eugene, you know, he takes in what she says and he kind of looks at Leslie, and Leslie notes to him, like, you know, she's not really on board with this yet. And Eugene obviously like disagrees with this perspective. And he goes on to tell her that there has been evil throughout all civilization. All civilization had monsters and blah, blah, blah. And for good to be pitted against evil, you have to have evil.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like weirdly insightful.
Yeah.
And really, you understand why he justifies what he does.
Right.
Like, he legitimately thinks that he is an integral part of how the world functions. And without evil, there could not be good.
Right. Which a part of you goes, wait a minute, that does make sense. But then you're like, I don't know about that.
No. And I think that argument has been made by like lots of horrible, evil people throughout history, right? Yeah. Like this idea of yin and yang and you know, keeping the balance of things, right? And it's just all bullshit. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And one of the lines he does say also that made me think he's like an old grizzled vet is he was like, you know, we didn't have all the preparation these guys use today. And then that's when he's talking about like back in the 70s and da-da-da, you know?
Yeah.
But he does, yes, nod to Jay, Fred, and Mike, and, you know, puts them over basically, saying like you said.
I believe the actor's name is Scott Wilson, and he was brought on by Robert Englund's suggestion.
Okay, I recognized him too immediately.
Bomb, dude. I think he's like a fucking great actor.
Yeah, he did great.
He is so good, and like he takes that character and really brings him to life as like a real person. Like, you're like, oh, this man has seen some shit.
Yes, you really believe he's, you know, a retired serial killer.
Yeah. And I love his dynamic with Jamie. It's just,
they do seem like a happy, healthy couple.
No, for real. And I think that's also why this movie is so good. The acting is top notch. Like, and it makes sense. The actor that plays Leslie, I believe his name is Nathan, he's a Juilliard graduate. Like, these are heavy hitting actors.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a low budget movie in the sense that it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel low budget at all to me, honestly, because I think they're filming a documentary style and it does look like a documentary, or like from a camcorder's perspective. I think they could get away with, you know, having a lower budget but making it look really good.
Yeah, and they use the most of their budget went to the cinematic portion of the movie.
I was just gonna ask about that.
Yeah, and they filmed a lot of like the mockumentary part they filmed first.
Yeah,
and they went to all different locations. And actually, I thought was also interesting is behind the camera, like the dialogue was done in booth, and a lot of it was ad-libbed.
Really?
Yeah. Do you remember at one part when we were rewatching and I said, did Todd just, or no, maybe it was Doug. One of them was like, you don't have to be an uber bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like that had to have been ad-libbed.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Anyway.
Okay, so now we cut to the library. He is taking their suggestion. Leslie's taking Eugene and Jamie's suggestion. He's like, you're right. We're going to go to the library. Leslie is in the van with Taylor and the crew, and he's cutting out a fake news article about a fake great uncle. He's trying to make Kelly believe that this great uncle is related to her. So same last name.
Yes.
He even like photoshopped a picture of her to make it look like they're related.
Yes. And like the great uncle sexually assaulted his mother.
Right.
Is the idea.
Right.
And it's to like create paranoia with Kelly, and also to make her really think like, oh shit, I'm part of some big, you know, crazy
scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love it because like how many times in a horror movie is there like, we got to go to the library and use that, what is that machine?
Microfiche.
The microfiche. Yeah. I don't think I've ever even seen one of those before, but it's like, in every horror movie.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to go look at the
They
news
gotta
articles.
scroll on the thing, and it's like showing the old news articles. Yeah, I only know what that thing is because of horror movies.
Dude, I've wanted that to be part of my life for as long as I can remember. Like
a microfiche.
Yeah, like I've wanted that moment. I've wanted we need to go to the library.
And then you find something.
We need to go to the central library, the biggest fucking library in the city, and we need to research this. Dude,
I mean, we can go do that. Let's just go find something.
we need to find something to get obsessed with.
Yeah.
That's like a dream come true for me.
That's me and like the cemetery lore behind people's random monuments.
Yes. Oh my God. That could be like a series.
Or like, yeah, now we're brainstorming. Okay, so they are sneaking around the library now, and Leslie's explaining to them he's going to swap out the real microfiche with the fake one that has the rest of this article on it. So once again, he's explaining exactly how this is going to go down. She's going to see this clipping. She's going to go ask the librarian what this is from. The librarian's going to say, oh my gosh, that's so old. We have to go look at the microfiche and all this. And that's exactly what happens, of course.
Yes. And this is one of my favorite lines in the entire movie when he is behind a bookshelf and he goes, Paradise Lost, and he pulls the book out and goes, found it.
It's such a random thing. Like, it's in the middle of him explaining what they're going to do with him. Like, he's just fucking around.
Yes. And that was an ad-libbed line by him.
That makes a lot of sense.
Dude, I love that fucking line.
That's probably why, because it was real. Like, he was just doing that, and it feels natural because it was.
No, for real. I loved it. Paradise Lost, found it.
So I don't know which cameraman was in there with them. I didn't write that down, but the other one is outside and they see that someone is pulling up to the library and he's like zooming in with his camera. He's like, who the fuck's this guy? So with Taylor and the other cameraman being in the library filming what's about to go down, Leslie disappears. He goes and does his thing. Sure enough, everything goes down just like he said. The librarian.
I love her. She's from Poltergeist.
Zelda?
Yeah. I love her so much. And you know what I also like about the scene is like she starts to explain what happened to Leslie in a way that like she starts and then she's like, oh, like she can't, like she, you know what I mean? Like it's like so typical to like horror movies, but she does basically explain like what happened to him or like the lore behind him.
Right.
And I believe the townspeople like come to his house because he kills his parents, but his parents were like using him as for like slave labor.
Yeah.
So this mob comes and grabs him and they chuck him over the falls and the water is so cold that his body like doesn't rise up. But it's a homage to, well, at least the name of the falls is Nellis Falls, and it's a homage to The Hills Have Eyes, because in The Hills Have Eyes, the location is Nellis Air Force Base.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was another obscure one that I did not catch. I actually had to look that one up.
Yeah, I wrote down the name, but I did not know it was linked to anything.
And Mrs. Collingwood, the name of the librarian, is a homage to The Last House on the Left.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So they also mentioned here that we kind of touched on it a little bit already with the newspaper clipping, but the long story short is that his parents were married. Her fake great uncle allegedly assaulted the mother. So 9 months later, when she had a baby, it was Leslie. And because it wasn't, she calls him a bastard son. So for that reason, they kind of like locked him away. Like you said, used him for labor. He was forced to work in the fields with just a hand scythe. Is it scythe or scythe? I always forget.
I always call it a Sith, but honestly,
I'm trying to remember how she pronounced it. I think it's scythe. Oh, well, let us know if we're wrong. We said it both ways, so I feel like one of them has to be right. Anyway, the librarian finishes telling the lore. Leslie pops up with his scythe.
Sith.
Slices her. And then we hear Leslie. Then we hear Leslie. Turns around. It is Robert motherfucking Englund.
Yo, how fucking cool does he look?
He looks like Dr. Loomis.
He is. He is a homage to Dr. Loomis.
And his name is Doc Halloran.
Yes, and it is a mashup of Doc Torrance's nickname Doc in The Shining.
Oh, nice. So he has a gun, but Leslie escapes somehow, which is also very typical in the horror movies. Now we cut to Eugene and Leslie, Jamie, they're all back together and they are pumped. Like Leslie's telling Eugene and Jamie what happened. Like, we got an Ahab. And they're like, yay, we got an Ahab, an Ahab. And then Taylor's like, what's an Ahab?
Yeah, she's like, okay, can you tell me what that is? Because like Leslie's got her shoulders and is like hopping up and down and he's like super excited. And she's like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Yeah. He tells her that it is someone who is everything that's good in humanity and will stop at nothing to try to stop him, basically.
Yeah.
Even if it comes at a great personal cost. So very Dr. Loomis.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
then we looked it up because we're like, but what does that mean though? Because I feel like it's something. And from what I found anyway, Captain Ahab is from Moby Dick. And Captain Ahab is a relentless pursuer obsessed with hunting down a specific target. So that makes sense.
That made way more sense than the biblical one that I found.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, I was like, I was reading it and I was like, oh, this makes sense. And I was like, wait a second.
Does it?
It doesn't, because he's actually evil.
Right.
And apparently Doc Halloran was Leslie's psychiatrist when he was little.
Yes.
So
now we cut to a different day, and Taylor and the crew are going to the diner that Kelly works at, and they're without Leslie.
yeah, so they're doing their own investigative journalism here.
Yes, and I had to rewind it because I was like, did I miss why they're going to talk to her? And they just imply that Kelly wants to ask her something, but I don't think they ever say what it is.
Yeah, I think they're just curious about Kelly.
They're curious about her, or I was also kind of wondering if Taylor wanted to warn her here or just... I'm not sure, but she just kept implying, no, I'm going to ask her in a minute. I'm going to ask her in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Taylor at this point in the movie was threatened by Leslie. I don't think she really realized what was happening until it actually started happening.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely not threatened by him.
Yeah.
We see that in a minute. So Kelly takes her order, but she's clearly paranoid and distracted. She's looking out the window, so it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Halloran is in the diner too. And we see him off in the distance. He notices the camera and he goes up to them and asks why they're filming. Why are you filming this girl?
Yep, exactly. And he proceeds to tell them that Leslie's real name is Leslie Mancuso, which is a homage to one of the executive producers, or I want to say he was either an executive producer or was a producer on Friday the 13th, Frank Mancuso Jr.
Okay.
He was very heavily involved in the entire Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
And if you watch Crystal Lake Diaries, they interview him quite a bit. And it's really fun listening to him like talk about Friday the 13th and stuff. So that was a homage to him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so Doc tells them that not only is that his name, he's from Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
Like he's not who you think he is. And you know where he is. Like you're trying to hide him, basically.
Yes.
Taylor?
And
oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say also like Doc Halloran said that he was his psychiatrist.
Right.
That was the only part of the story that was actually true. But Taylor is kind of like, okay, well, if all that's true, like, why haven't you like turned Leslie in? And essentially Leslie put a restraining order against the doctor so that if the doctor turns him in, he'll be arrested. So basically Leslie kind of like set him up so that he can't, call the cops on him and turn him in.
So Taylor gets freaked out by this. They leave, and Leslie's already outside in his van, and he knows what happened. Like, he knows everything that went down. So he's like, all right, are we going to have this conversation now? Or
yeah, he's pissed.
He's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm giving you this inside scoop. Don't get in my way. And Taylor, she wants to know who is Doc, who Leslie really is. That is where he kind of confesses a little bit. And Taylor does get a little bold here. We do see that she's not threatened by Leslie because she gets an attitude with him. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she kind of is like tries to check him. Mm-hmm. And Leslie grips her up like against the van.
It's like the first time you see him like actually aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has that little snap of like, you're not about to get in my face. And she's like, oh shit, I forgot you're a serial killer. So she is pissed about all of this, about how he set up, not just that he set up Doc and the restraining order thing, but she says, you used me. Like you're doing all of this just to use me. You're not even who you said you were. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're just in this for a story though. Like, why do you care?
Yeah, I think, well, yeah. I mean, I feel like right now she feels like she's wasted a bunch of time because, I mean, I feel like at this point she really doesn't think he's actually a serial killer.
Right, that he's just lying about everything.
Yeah, like, because now it's like she can't trust anything he says.
Right. So she's debating quitting. And they almost do. There's a moment where they're like, it's kind of dragged out. Like, will she, won't she quit? And then eventually she's like, whatever. Like, let's see it through. We already came this far. Mm-hmm. So now Leslie is going to take them through his alleged ancestral home. That's what he calls it, his alleged ancestral home. So now he walks the crew through exactly what's going to happen, just like he did before, with all the kids that are about to come party in his house. And of course, they think that, they're breaking into this abandoned house and that they're alone.
Yeah, it's kind of like, honestly, like a breakdown of a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like they really do break down, like, and then the kids are I'm gonna kill these two, and then I'm gonna plant them here
Yep.
so that they're gonna find them at this spot, and then the lights are gonna go off when these two people are fucking in the basement.
Yep.
And then this person's gonna go. So he's essentially laying out the exact plot of pretty much every slasher.
Right.
And you're seeing it happen.
Yeah.
Which I think is like so clever.
I loved it.
Yeah.
At one point, I think the first two kids is like, oh, you know, this horny teenager is going to go want to check out the noise. So he's going to take his girlfriend down there, hoping he gets lucky. He's going to kill the guy. He's going to let the girl go because then she's going to be scared and she's going to run back upstairs and she's going to tell everyone. And then they're going to run up there. Yes, the whole thing.
Like like point for point, exactly what happens in so many horror movies. I thought it was brilliant because he's explaining how he's doing it all.
Yeah. And so while he's talking, we're seeing what he's saying. We're seeing how it's going to unfold. So I actually thought that I thought they were like showing us it's weird to say what is really happening, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was what was happening in the movie, but then we'll find out things are going to change a little bit. So we were just seeing what he was describing, not necessarily what will happen.
Yeah, this is in his brain. This is like the perfect plan.
Right.
He does say a couple times like it might not end up perfectly like this. Like he he's saying like this is my idea, but you know, that's only if it goes exactly according to plan.
Right. And up to this point, everything he has described did go to plan. So as far as we know, whenever he says this is how it's going to go, it does.
Yeah, and he also he goes to the tool shed at one point, and he's like, yeah, and then you know Kelly's gonna run out here. He has like a whole chase scene with the barn, and they climb up here, and then but I loved the part when he goes to the tool shed because he's like, yeah, and then she's gonna go in and she's gonna get a weapon, and he's dulled and basically sabotaged all the weapons. So when she uses the axe, the top of the axe is gonna fly off. When she uses like he's sabotaged all the weapons. He's also nailed the window shut.
Yep.
So the only way they can get through is if they throw themselves through the glass. He's thought of literally everything to prevent them from escaping.
Right. And also, like you said before, it answers questions that we have in horror movies. We're like, why is no window opening now? Like really none of these windows open?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought that was like so clever. And again, I love the writing of this movie.
Me too. So he's showing Taylor the closet. They're in a room. Two kids are going to come up there and they're going to start getting busy. And he says that the closet is symbolic of the womb. And in the womb, we're innocent. Because they're also doing a little sit down interview here too, in between these shots.
Yeah.
And she's like, so does that mean that you're pro-life, Leslie?
I love that line, dude.
And of course that doesn't get an answer.
Yeah.
But he does tell her like the rule number 1 is no one gets away. When he said that, I was like, that includes them, right?
Dude, right? Yeah. Like that was a big, huge red flag, girl.
Yeah, for sure. So as we're seeing this massacre that Leslie's describing, at one point he's, talking about the two kids going to hook up, and they show this guy going to unzip the girl's hoodie, which she's not wearing anything under. I'm like, that's a choice. Zippers are cold.
Dude.
I don't want a zipper touching my skin.
No, I don't even like wearing hoodies without something underneath. I at least need like a bralette or something.
Yeah, I love bralettes.
Dude, I'm wearing one right now.
Me too.
They're the best.
I hate real bras.
Real bras, honestly, I think are like death traps.
Yeah, and isn't the underwire bad for our boobs or something?
They're just terrible. They're so horrible. But like if you're doing a photo shoot, I'll wear a real bra.
Yeah, I mean
or
the
like,
underwire is like a little more support, not gonna lie.
Yeah, especially if I want to like push them up.
Yeah.
Then we'll do that. But for like everyday life, bralette.
Absolutely not. Well, everyday life for me is like no bra.
Oh, I can't do no bra.
I'm team no bra.
I mean, I love that for you. I don't know why. I just love my little bralettes,
I think it's just because when you're part of the itty bitty titty committee, you can get away with no bra more often than not. Yeah. So I take full advantage of that.
I cannot do that. However, I can't sleep in a bralette. I'll tell you that.
Do you sleep in a bra?
No. I don't sleep in anything.
To say, like,
no.
Wait, what?
No, just
the
a t-shirt.
Most uncomfortable sleeping in a real bra.
Dude, you ever like in high school when you had like went to a house party and you like ended up sleeping there?
Like on the couch with like a piece of cardboard as a blanket?
Yes, dude. And you wake up and there's like an egg in your pocket and you're still wearing a bra. Terrible.
An egg in your pocket?
Yeah,
Is
dude.
that a prank?
Yeah, that happened to me at a house party.
Like a raw egg?
Yeah, they put eggs in everyone's pocket, and some people rolled over and the eggs broke. But because I was sleeping on the arm of a chair,
yeah,
like in a little ball,
yeah,
the egg didn't break.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard of that one.
No, I mean, I'd never heard of it until it happened to me.
We did the like shaving cream on the face and then you tickle their face.
Oh,
or no,
sure.
shaving cream on the hand. Sorry.
Yeah, that's like the Mighty Ducks 2 style.
Yeah.
Love it.
Which is the funny part about that is, I'm sorry, I know this is a sidetrack. The funny part about that is, why wouldn't you just put shaving cream on their face?
No, I know.
Like, why do you have to make them do it? I guess it's just,
It's funny.
yeah, it makes it funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's like
where
when
were
someone's
we?
like, why are you hitting yourself? And you're like,
Right.
I hate that shit, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
So stupid.
Because you're small, I feel like that probably happened to you a lot.
Dude, it did, man.
Oh man,
Fuck
I'm sorry.
off.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Okay, so he's going to unzip the hoodie and we see like titties coming out and Taylor is like, Leslie, isn't that a little gratuitous? Which how often do we talk about or people talk about gratuitous nudity? Nudity. I don't know why I just said it like that. Gratuitous nudity in horror movies.
It's true.
So Kelly now we learn is going to go from victim to heroine. And he's describing what she's going to do. She's going to go to that tool shed. All the weapons, like you said, are sabotage. So she has to grab this specific axe. And it's symbolic. She's using his weapon, something phallic, he says. And she's using it on him, empowering herself with his manhood.
Ew.
Exactly.
Fucking ew.
And even Taylor's like, she's like, oh, so you're pro-life and a chauvinist.
Right? Like you think very highly of yourself, don't you, Leslie?
But it is funny because we do see that type of symbolism in movies where it's like, why is everything like phallic or sexual or
Dude, yes.
And also it's funny when you take something like a slasher, which isn't supposed to really be taken seriously, but there's like this deeper meaning behind it.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, well, we were talking about that in Dream Warriors with Freddy. I mean, Freddy is
Yeah.
overtly perverted.
Yes.
And like everything he does is laced with some kind of like sexual reference for sure.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. That
Yeah.
is in so many horror movies. I
Yeah.
mean, Slumber Party Massacre too.
Oh my
Hello.
gosh. So he's describing the final girl run through, basically. He doesn't call it that, but he's describing how Kelly's going to, run through the orchard, that Leslie is going to have a showdown with Ahab and win, which Ahab is Doc Holleran.
Mm-hmm.
And then the piece de resistance, actually, that is when Kelly runs through the orchard. And the orchard where he hung his mother. So that's why it's a big deal.
And it represents the birth canal.
Yeah, he's like, if the closet represents the womb, what is this? And Taylor correctly guesses the birth canal. And of course, he's like, good job, Taylor. Like, she's starting to catch on. And he says something about Yonic. Is it Yonic or Yonic? I don't know why I can't remember how it was just pronounced.
I can't remember.
I think it's Yonic.
I think it's Yonic.
Yonic imagery is extremely important in our work. And she's like, what is that? And he's like, the opposite of phallic.
Yeah.
Which I have heard the term yoni in reference to like
I haven't.
woman parts, I guess.
Oh, I never heard that before. Not until I watched this.
It's an interesting, maybe I'll talk about it in the extended episode because
Okay.
I heard it. There's a weird reason why I know that word.
Okay.
But anyway, then he shows her the crown jewel. This is the crown jewel, baby. And it's an apple crusher. It's basically a machine in the barn that I guess you put apples.
It makes cider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you crank it in a
Yeah.
circle to crush these apples.
Yeah. It
Okay.
like makes apple cider.
She's like, what's going to happen with it? And he's like, well, I'm going to crush some apples and juice is going to come out, and starts laughing. And then Todd is like,
I love that. I love when he said that. I thought that was really funny. It's like, Taylor, what do you think is going to happen, girl?
But then she's like, you're going to hurt someone with it. Or he says he's going to hurt someone with it. I don't know. But either way, what I found funny here is that it popped Todd.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Todd is like, he is like his number one fan
He's
now.
enamored with Leslie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it is before showtime, and Eugene and Jamie have showed up to support Leslie. And Taylor is asking Eugene for advice. She's like, how about some advice from the experts before we get started? It's like before the curtain opens, like before showtime.
And she asks them, like, how does one survive someone like you?
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of go down the line.
Yeah.
And I believe it's Jamie says, never hang out with a virgin.
Yeah.
Either get someone in their pants or get the hell away from her.
Yeah.
Eugene says the simple answer is run like a motherfucker and don't stop until the sun comes up. Don't try to hide. Don't try to be a hero and fight us. You'll lose.
Mm-hmm.
And then he continues answering and saying, keep running and don't ever look back.
yeah. And Taylor was like, what about staying in groups? And Eugene's like, yeah, you can do that, but make sure some poor some bitch is slower than you for when you run.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, make sure there's somebody that is like slower than you.
So this is where the line is where I had to rewind it to thank goodness for closed captions, because I was like, am I hearing this correctly?
Dude, I always watch with closed captions now.
Me too, especially to write my notes. It helps me so much.
Yeah.
So Jamie here, they start laughing and she's like, I was fast, wasn't I, Eugene? And he's like, you sure were. Okay, so she's probably the final girl or the survivor girl.
For sure.
But then this is what confused me. Eugene says, yeah, you were, but you caught me, huh? You know what? It just hit me. Maybe he meant like in love.
Maybe. I don't know. Or maybe like she did fight him and like he survived. Maybe they both survived.
That must be what it was. It probably is as simple as that, but they don't ever elaborate. She just goes, or he just says, yeah, but you caught me, huh? And she's like, I did.
Like, I wonder, because he's supposed to be Billy from Black Christmas, but is there a tie in there? I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of
offhand.
curious. I'm sure people that have seen this movie have deep dived and know. If you guys know or you have opinions on it, let us know.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think, because they didn't say for sure, at least not in the movie.
No, I mean, she definitely is his final girl, I would say.
Has to be.
Yeah.
So now we cut to Leslie doing his makeup in the mirror, which once again, I was like, this is like pre-indie wrestling show.
No, honestly, I feel like I've gotten ready in a space like that.
Oh yeah. And how many wrestlers do we see on indie shows that do the same makeup that he's doing right here?
No, for real. When I was Dark Alley, I remember one time I was backstage and I had to do makeup in the fucking dark, dude.
I'm just picturing your makeup being exactly like his, just raccoon eyes. Because he does wear a mask. We didn't describe what he looks like. He does wear like this, imagining myself with the hair. It's like doll hair sewn onto this mask. So look up a picture of him. I'm sure we put it in the thumbnail. Yeah. But he wears like this gray mask. He almost looks like a frog to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a frowny face carved in by the mouth. The eye holes are open. He has like this short blonde doll hair kind of sewn to the top. And it's just a face mask that you would like strap on. It's not like a pullover mask. It's a strap-on mask. You know what I'm talking about. The old strap-on masks. And so yeah, he's doing like dark circles around his eyes for that setup.
Yes. And so a couple of things to note about this scene. There is a bottle of Stay Awake medicine, which is a nod to A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like on his dresser.
Oh, okay.
There's also blocks under the mirror, and when he's doing his makeup, it spells out red rum, but later on when they flash back to him, it spells murder. And that is obviously a homage to The Shining.
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of neat.
Didn't catch any of those.
I mean, I didn't. I did not catch that until I read about it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. They do such a good job of like inserting these little tiny Easter eggs.
On my face, if you're watching on YouTube, I just went, because
was
I just
like
remembered.
A delayed reaction. Oh no, you're going.
I just remembered something, and I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it was this movie. I did just watch a lot of movies back to back, but if I'm not mistaken, was it this movie where they had Billy the puppet in the background on the wall?
Oh,
I might be lying about that. It's in one of the movies we're about to cover. I'd imagine this one.
I don't know.
We're gonna have to look at that, but I'll look it up when we do the extended, or unless you want to like research it real quick and see. But I know in a movie I just watched, I randomly paused it on a part and I went, oh, that's Billy the puppet on the wall.
Oh my God. Okay, well you keep talking. I'm gonna Google it.
So I'm gonna guess it's this one, because the other one we're about to do, it wouldn't make sense for it to be in that one. Okay, so at one point Taylor says to him, "You really love her, don't you?" As he's doing his makeup, talking about Kelly. And he's like, I love the idea of her. And I was like, wow, why is he more introspective than most people? Like he realizes that.
No, for sure. And also, he also is putting like the paint that's on his face is not like regular paint. It's preparation H. And he's putting on his face because it constricts the blood flow. Mm-hmm. And so if you get cut, you won't pour blood. And also it makes you pale.
Yeah. He's like, it's like what the boxers use, not, for the blood flow part, not the pale part. Yeah. He also said he mixed his own concoction of fire retardants in there.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting. I'm like, that would make sense for you.
He's explaining how, again, like every horror movie trope, he's like, oh, well, this is why.
Yeah, this is why he didn't die from that. It's because he's wearing this special concoction. So now Taylor and Leslie are sitting up in like the loft of a barn, basically looking at the landscape. And Leslie starts to like cry a little bit. And he's just like, I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. Like it's very, someone about to perform in a play that they've been trying to perform in for a really long time. Like this is his moment.
Okay, I'm sorry to stop you.
No, please do.
However, I can't find anything that says Billy the Puppet's in it. So it might have been a different movie.
It wouldn't make sense though. Well, we'll talk about it later because the other one was before Billy the Puppet existed that we're about to cover, so it couldn't have been that one.
What about May?
No, that was also
May was 2002 and Saw was 2001.
I'll have to look it up. It has to be this one. I know I saw it. I'm not crazy.
I love that you just held your like fist. You're like,
I'm gonna look it up, and if it is in this one, we'll just put it on like the Instagram stories. Like, see, I told you I wasn't crazy.
Listen, if you say it's in here, AK, I believe you.
It's in a movie, okay?
I believe you.
All right, so now it's showtime, and
is this where he starts crying?
Oh, I just said that part when you were reading.
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. We can leave it. But I know you were looking something up, so I was taking over. It's fine.
No, I love that
he
you
starts
did.
crying when he's like, "I'm so happy."
I'm so happy. And then she like awkwardly doesn't know how to comfort him,
Yeah.
so she lands on his hands. She's like, I'll just hold your hands.
And so now he's like, "All right, it's showtime. 8 kids are in the house. They're getting drunk. Kelly's not drinking, which is good. Which I don't know why that would matter, but I guess it goes with the whole like innocent virgin thing.
Bullshit. Yeah.
So he's like, all right, the jock and the cheerleader are going to be up here any second. I usually give them a little bit of time to get going before I jump out, which I also found so funny because how often does that happen where it's like, why did you wait until, they're banging to jump out? Why didn't you just kill them?
That's like the most vulnerable position you could be in next to going to the, like taking a shit. I feel like, right? Like going to the bathroom is like pretty vulnerable, but like having sex, like that's like.
Yeah, especially if you're not the one that's like, can see the room. If you're like face down.
Dude, that is so scary.
So face down sounded weird, but you know what I'm saying.
That's so scary.
Yeah, so they start banging on cue. He goes in and kills him after a while. Now, Taylor is upset. She goes and like peeks through the little curtain that they're hiding in.
Oh, yeah, because you can hear the kids getting brutaled.
Yeah.
Brutalized.
Leave it. Leave it. They're getting brutal.
I said that with so much confidence. Brutalized.
Okay,
brutalized.
Brutalized, yes. And when, Taylor peeks out of the curtain, she sees him. Now she's upset. And Leslie's like, all right, you got to go.
Yeah. I actually really liked how Leslie handled it.
Like after murdering these people, he handled it really well. But no, he did.
He was like,
it made sense.
He was like, this is not for you. Like,
yeah, he's like, you're giving me that look. And she's like, what look? And he was like, we can't just stand here and let this happen look.
Yeah. And he takes them outside to the van and he's literally like, this is where I'm going to say goodbye to you. And he like, it almost feels like he is sad to see her go.
Yeah.
It's very manipulative.
It is.
Like extremely, especially because we know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And he's like, we're going to say our goodbyes now. He's saying goodbye to each of the cameramen. And it's so funny. Doug's like, good luck, man. Good luck with the rest of your night. And because he does turn around, but Leslie's going to walk away. And that's when he turns around and he's like, I told you this was my night. And it's just everything, like the writing, like you said, I know we keep saying like, it's just so funny. It's just so funny, but it is, they're just acting so casual. Like he's just doing a play.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Is my night.
This is my moment. Okay. The spotlight is on me.
Yeah. And so Taylor tries to speak reason. She's like, look, you're choosing to live up to this fabricated ghost story. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, you don't, like she's trying to plead with him, like we see in a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, and he kind of regurgitates what Eugene was saying, and he's like, look, I'm choosing to provide counterbalance to all things good and pure.
Right.
Like, okay, but we really don't need that to exist. We could all just be good.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But okay. So they say their goodbyes. The documentary style ends here.
Yeah, so this is where there's a total flip, and now we are cinematic. We are in the movie. We are in the horror movie with Taylor, Todd, and Doug. I almost called him Dog. And the rest of the kids in the house.
Yes, and Taylor is like, look, guys, we can't just stand here and let this happen. And
yeah,
Todd's
because
like,
the guys are like, let's just go.
Yeah, and Todd's like, isn't that exactly what he just said you were going to say? And it is verbatim what Leslie said that she was going to say, or that she was thinking. And Taylor's like, look, we know what he's going to do, how he's going to do it. We can stop this. And both Todd and Doug are both like, we did say, we weren't going to interfere. They're both not about it.
They don't care. They want to get out of there.
Yeah, which a part of me is like, okay, I would be terrified,
At least call the police.
Yeah, something. But Taylor's like, okay, then just stand there and hold your balls, and walks away.
And I think one of them goes like, oh, you had to bring up the balls.
Yeah,
That's
Todd.
really funny.
And so they do follow her in. Mm-hmm. They reluctantly follow her in the house.
Yeah, and they want to go warn the kids. Like
Yeah.
Taylor is like, guys, this is what's happening. Where's Kelly? Where's
Yeah.
Kelly? Where's Kelly? Where's Kelly?
Yeah. Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Kelly.
This scene, they go upstairs thinking they're about to save someone from getting murdered.
Uh-huh.
Something was getting murdered, and it wasn't a person.
Was she doing reverse cowgirl? Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah. They walk into this room. Kelly is riding her boyfriend, reverse cowgirl, swinging.
She is into it.
She's swinging like a sock or her tank top around like this, like, woo!
I mean, listen, I don't think I have ever been that excited. Come on. Have you ever been so excited that you're swinging your fucking tank top or sock around?
No matter how good it is, I've never been swinging something over my head.
Dude, no.
But, maybe I just never had it like Kelly had it. I don't know.
Maybe it was just really hitting that spot,
maybe
man.
I'm missing out. Maybe I need to start swinging something around my
Maybe we
head.
both need to. That's our promise to each other. The next time, we're going to grab some kind of item and just swing it around.
Yeah, let me know how it goes.
I will.
Okay, so we can't say for sure, but I'm going to say there's a high chance she's not a virgin.
I would say with that position,
That's
probably
not what you start with. I don't know about you, but
I'd be very scared.
just no. Just no. So, they're all like, oh my gosh, even the cameramen are like, yeah, like that definitely was not her first time.
Yeah.
I wrote in all caps, LMAO. That was my note there, LMAO. And so they're down in the living room now. And Taylor is trying to explain what's happening. Kelly came downstairs. She's like, well, who the fuck are you? You just ruined my good night. They're trying to explain what's happening. Right on cue, the lights go out. They come back on. One of the girls runs up the stairs from the basement, scared, like Leslie said was going to happen, telling the whole crew that there's a man in the mask, killed her boyfriend, her jock boyfriend.
Yep.
And then, Taylor, I almost called her Leslie. Taylor grabs Kelly and she's like, look, here's what's going down. And as she's explaining it, Leslie can see them through the window. So now he knows that they all went back inside.
That's right. And Kelly faints.
Yeah.
And at this point, they're like, okay, we need to fuck his plan up.
Yes.
Like we need to do something different than what he's expecting us to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it is following the horror movie tropes.
Right.
Even though they're trying to foil his plan, it's still very traditional slasher tropes.
Yeah. They want to show the kids that are downstairs, like the stoners, they want to show them the kids that they saw kill upstairs. They're like, he's expecting this to happen later. Let's do it now, because then they're all going to get scared and they're all going to go to the car.
Right.
But we're going to jump ahead of his plan.
Yep, exactly.
So they go up there and they bring all the kids with them and those bodies are gone. So they realize that Leslie's adjusting his plan.
That's right.
And that's when Todd and Doug are like, Taylor, he didn't see you, did he? And she's like, oh, you might have been in the window. And yeah, that's why Kelly fainted, because she saw him out there. So the stoners at this point, they end up going to, it's like a shed or a barn.
Yeah.
They go outside. And one sees Leslie standing in there and he's like, oh, the scarecrow is sweet. I want this for my house or something.
It reminded me of Friday the 13th. I want to say Freddy versus Jason.
Mm-hmm.
There's a stoner who he's kind of like Silent Bob.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's just but there's a scene in a cornfield where there's two drunk guys or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. That's what it just reminded me of. Yeah.
And so he gets killed, of course.
Whose heart does Leslie rip out?
The next one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So spoiler alert. I mean, it's all spoiler alert, right? Leslie kills the other one outside who was waiting for his friend. He didn't see this happen with a post hole digger, which if you don't know what that is, it literally digs the holes that you put a giant post in for a fence. It's kind of like a clamshell on these really long, I was going to say sticks, like a handle. And so he grabs his heart out of his chest with it, which I thought was so creative and gross.
And then he puts it in his hand, and
Yeah.
the guy like kind of like
the guy's own hand.
yeah, and he's like still alive a little bit,
Like trying to resuscitate it.
resuscitate his own heart.
I mean, he is high as hell, so why not?
Sure.
So now the rest try to run to the cruise van. I think the car didn't start or something.
Yeah,
Some
the car
trope.
didn't start. Yep, and they really are trying to like change the plan.
Yeah.
They're trying to like and they need to protect Kelly. Like they think that they need to keep her safe.
Right. So then they run to the actual cruise van, and now they open up the side door, and those 2 dead kids from upstairs are planted in the van.
Yeah.
So Leslie is now steps ahead of them.
Yep.
They think they're getting ahead of him. No, he's already ahead of them. And of course, that van won't start either, or the tires were slashed or something.
Yeah, so they have to go back to the house.
Right.
And I thought this was really funny. Like, Kelly is like getting really upset, and she like yells out, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm not a virgin." And Leslie definitely hears that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Taylor is like, Kelly, we're all counting on you. And like the other friend, I think her name is Lauren, she was just being really shitty. She's like, thanks a lot, Kelly, like for not being a virgin, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like, I'm sorry that I'm sexually active. And yeah, she goes on that whole like tangent. I did think that was really funny. And so Taylor is like, Leslie cannot find out you're not a virgin, or he's going to basically kill all of us and leave no witnesses.
Yeah. But he already heard her. He heard her yell that.
Yeah, he had to have heard
So
her.
he already knows.
Which
And
I'm curious, based on that. I mean, we can just wait till we get there, and then I'll ask.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter either way. They just think
Yes.
that it matters.
Yes,
But
okay.
it really doesn't have any.
Okay.
Yeah, it has no bearing on what he's going to do.
Okay.
But that's what they're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And then Todd is like, I'm going to distract them while you guys run to the barn. I'm going to distract Leslie. And he does. He runs the other way, and he's like, come on, Leslie, come on. And Leslie catches up to him. He gets stuck in like mud, and he climbs up on top of Todd, and he's like, Todd is like trying to plead with him. He's like, it's just me, Leslie. It's me. Come on, Leslie.
Yeah, like, come on, man, look at me.
Yeah, like, look at me, look at me. And it's like really gruesome.
Well, for a moment, you kind of do think, oh, maybe he is like, you know, there's some humanity in Leslie, because they did just spend so much bonding time together. Leslie starts to take off his mask, or maybe Todd took it off.
Yeah, yeah.
So you think like maybe, and then he just snaps Todd's
Snaps his fucking neck, dude.
I thought I said his name wrong. I thought I said Tob.
Whenever I think of Todd, I think of Ned Flanders' kid from The Simpsons.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, what was the guy's name in The Burning?
Todd.
It was Todd.
Oh my God,
fucking Todd.
Todd with his same shirt that he just kept wearing different ways.
The flannel.
The flannel, yeah.
Also, during this time, or like maybe right before this, someone starts banging on the door. Something happens to scare Kelly after she's like, I'm sorry, I'm not a virgin. She breaks the window, jumps out of it to her death.
Yeah, she's really stupid.
How you said that? Yeah. So like she can't be the final girl because she just died.
Yeah, she's dumb. I don't even think I wrote in my notes that she died.
Yeah, she jumps out the window. So yeah, Kelly's dead, presumably. Todd definitely seems like he's dead.
He's dead for sure.
And so Lauren now climbs up to the loft in the barn, which when Leslie was describing this earlier, she gets snatched and murdered.
Yeah.
And Taylor's like, no, don't climb up there, because she knows what's going to happen. But then Lauren goes up there and nothing happens.
Yes.
So they're like, okay, his plan is off. Let's all go up there and hide or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So Taylor realizes up there, she's like, wait a minute. Leslie has been planning this all along. This is all part of his plan. This isn't just like, oh, we're ahead of him. And then they all realize Taylor is a survivor girl.
Yeah.
She's a virgin, which I also thought was funny. I don't know. I thought it was funny because I'm thinking, as Taylor, wouldn't you be like, oh, he's looking for a virgin? Like, shit, I'm a virgin. Oh,
I didn't, now that you're saying it, I guess, yeah, she is a virgin. I didn't think that she was a virgin.
They end up saying it. Somebody does, because Lauren and the other guy that's still alive are up there with Doug. I was about to say Todd, definitely not Todd. Doug and Taylor, and that's where Taylor kind of realizes all this, and then Lauren's like, wait a minute, it's you. And the other guy's like, yeah, it's her. And it's like, you're a virgin, aren't you? And she's like, like just sobbing.
Yeah, because she does piece it together too. Like she says, like he, like I think she said that he seeked her out.
Yeah, like he came to her.
He came to her. Like this was all his whole plan was just to go after Taylor.
The whole time it's been Taylor.
The whole time.
Yeah.
And she's just piecing that together now.
Yep. So they're up in this loft. They hear something's going on. So they all start running again. And Doug, the other cameraman, smashes someone over the head that's walking through the door because they think it's Leslie, and it's actually Doc hollering.
Poor Doc.
Poor Doc.
Yeah.
Now they're running again. They climb up in the loft again. This time we do see the same thing that Leslie said earlier about Lauren getting snatched. Now it happens.
Yep.
Now he's back on track. And so Taylor and Doug are trying to escape. They're running through this barn, but Leslie set up everything a little differently than what he described. So they're trying to go down like this chute to something. I don't know. They're in a barn. But he's put like all these weapons, like a pitchfork and all this stuff facing up so they can't go down it. He has now set up booby traps so they can't escape the way they thought that they could.
Right.
Now, at one point, Doc tries to make the save. You know, he grabs Leslie to distract him enough. I think Taylor even said here, like, bye, Doc, or something like that, and runs because she knows, like, this is the showdown where he loses. And Leslie does end up stabbing him, which a part of me felt that was kind of anticlimactic for Doc, but I think it's just because he's Robert Englund. So I'm like, no, it needs to be something bigger. But also that wasn't the main story here. The story is between him and Taylor.
Right.
So it's just kind of done in passing as a, I guess, trope thing of like, okay, you know, done with him, now moving on.
Doesn't Doug tell Leslie that he loves Taylor here?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, me neither. And I didn't know if he was just saying it because he kind of puts himself in between Leslie and Taylor kind of as a decoy, it seemed, to try to save Taylor, let her run.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if he was just saying it just to save it, but he's like, I love her, man.
Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And he gets kind of like knocked out. Leslie just grabs his head and like smashes him against the wall.
Yeah. I thought he was dead for sure.
Me too.
Actually, in my notes, I wrote Leslie kills him anyways, very uneventfully.
Yeah. Because he just smashes his head against the wall, but it does make sense for later.
Yeah.
So Taylor runs into the shed.
She grabs the axe.
She grabs that axe.
Yep.
Just like Leslie said Kelly would.
And I love it too. Like, she runs into the orchard and she just like fucking calls him out and she like takes her jacket off.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I was getting so hyped. I was like, let's fucking go, Taylor.
Yeah,
Yes.
because she's like, I think she literally says, come get some.
Yeah, dude. I was like, yes, girl, go. I fucking loved it.
So here we have a chase scene, of course.
And he's like stalking after her, very
Yeah.
Jason style, very Michael style.
He pops up over here, he disappears, reappears in a section that doesn't really logistically make sense, but we know he has crazy cardio.
Hell yeah.
Taylor ends up going into the into the shed/barn. Leslie follows, but when he walks in, he doesn't see her.
Yeah, and I think she actually nails him with the axe and the top of the axe falls off.
Oh, maybe.
She does. It's right before this happens.
Oh,
She like
okay.
hits him and then, like he said, it's a sabotaged weapon.
Right.
And then she runs into the shed.
Yes.
And he's very close behind her and he comes into the shed right after her.
Yep. She's gone. He looks around. She swings like a hook that's hanging from the ceiling
Yeah,
at
like
him.
a big ass hook.
Yeah, to distract him.
Yeah.
And then she jumps out at him. They tussle around. He starts choking her, like he gets on top of her. She ends up getting his knife out of his pocket, stabs him just enough to get him off of her. Then she tosses his ass, well, literally his head, into...
Dude, she sticks his motherfucking head into the apple cider vice gimmick.
Yeah.
Like, and starts cranking
Vice.
the
That's
vice.
what it is. It's a vice.
Dude, she starts cranking the vice and his head is getting like smooshed and smooshed. And it reminded me of Intruder.
Yeah. And he even is trying to say things at this time and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, and he like pulls his mask off and he's like fucking panicking and she just keeps twisting it.
Imagining my head getting crushed like that. Oh my
it's
gosh.
so gross. And he whispers, Taylor, I knew you were the one. And she twists it even fucking harder. Dead.
Like one last
Boom.
twist. Yep. It's off screen, but it's implied she crushes his head.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then she's like, you know what? That's not enough. Fuck this guy. She grabs a thing of gasoline and just starts dumping it all over the shed.
And she lights that bitch ablaze.
Boom.
Whenever I say ablaze, I always think about you.
Saying I'm gonna light someone ablaze.
Yeah. Ablaze!
And so then like it all goes up in flames. Whoa. And then as it's up in flames, Doug shows up behind her with fucking Doc, man.
Yeah, someone grabs her shoulder. She's like, oh, it's like a little bit of a jump scare, but it's just Doug and Doc. They survived.
And it's a really cool shot of the three of them.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when the Scooby Gang, like one of the first episodes when the Scooby Gang gets together, it's shot kind of upward like that, where it's like you see the three of them together.
Yeah, that's really cool. And
Yeah.
then the barn burns down and that's the end of the movie.
and fucking Psycho Killer starts.
Yes.
And that was very, very, very hard for them to get.
I was going to say, that's a popular song. I imagine it was expensive.
Well, not only is it expensive, but that group, they do not let people use that song.
Oh.
Like that was a big deal that they were able to. And I guess it took a long time, but it ended up working out for them.
Yeah.
But I love the post credits because as the credits are running, we're now in a morgue and it's black and white. So it's obviously like security footage or like something like that.
The post credit.
And we see like a dude and it's like the guy that works at the morgue. What would you call him? Not a mortician. What are people?
The autopsy technician?
Yeah. And he's like, okay, I got a new body. And he's kind of like, he puts on gloves and he goes into the giant fridge and he pulls Leslie's body out on like a gurney and he turns back around and he's doing paperwork. And as he's turned around, right at the end of the credits, Leslie sits up like fucking Michael Myers style.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that because when I watched it the first time, I remember that, but I forgot to put that in my notes when I rewatched it again.
Dude, I love everything about this movie. I think it is so well written. The acting's incredible. The style is so creative.
It's so clever. I loved it.
It's so good. And like, if you're a horror fan, if you specifically love slashers, this is your movie.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
It's like a warm hug. It's like it hugs the slasher genre.
Yeah.
And I love it so much.
I was trying to research while you were talking to see if a sequel did happen.
Right.
And I can't, like, when I'm doing a quick search, I'm not really getting a confirmation, but it does say Before the Mask, The Return of Leslie Vernon. It says there was a year for it, so I'm trying to see if it actually came out.
It did not.
It did not.
So
Okay.
they had been trying to get it going, and then at one point I think there was a comic book. But then I did hear recently, after doing some research and digging, that it potentially has been resurrected.
Okay.
The fact that this did not get a sequel like immediately is mind-boggling to me. I imagine it's the distribution. People didn't know it existed. And if you don't know something exists, then you can't appreciate it, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You can't see it.
And unfortunately, we know that it's very money driven. So if it didn't do as well in the box office that they thought it should, then they're not going to be as interested, even if the movie is so good.
Dude, I'm going to put the link to that YouTube thing that I watched because listening to the director talk, it made me appreciate it even more because he loves horror movies and it was just obvious that he put so much energy and love into this project.
I love it.
I love it so much. Do you want some little gimmicks?
Sure do. Some little gimmicks.
All right. So the two cameramen, Todd and Doug, were not allowed to be seen at all during the mockumentary style of the film. That was very important. Then obviously we see them later on. The film was shot in 24 days at the end of November 2004. And Robert Englund and Zelda Rubinstein, they shot the last week of shooting. So they were on set together.
Okay.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
The mockumentary was filmed with a skeleton crew and it was shot first. And I think I said this earlier that they saved most of the budget for the cinematic part of the film.
Okay. Does skeleton crew just mean like a really small crew?
Very small crew. Exactly. And Nathan, who plays Leslie, beat out 24 other actors. It came down to 4 guys. And the reason they went with Leslie is because he came at it from a totally different vibe. It was kind of like a mashup of Jim Carrey meets John Malkovich.
Nathan?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
And it made the director and the writer, the director/writer, rethink the Leslie Vernon character because it brought something so different to the table.
He absolutely has a comedic element to him. Like you can tell that he has good comedic timing, that it definitely feels natural for him.
100%. Nathan's last name is Basil, who plays Leslie Vernon. I can't believe I haven't seen him in more things because I think he is so awesome. Apparently, he does do a cameo in the Kill Count on Dead Meat's podcast, the Dead Meat podcast. So
for this episode,
I believe it's for Leslie Vernon. Yep, for the Kill Count of Leslie Vernon. And Angela Goethals plays Taylor, and she was actually in Home Alone. She was the little girl that says "Les incompetents."
Oh,
that's her. Yeah. Which I thought was really, really, really cute.
Yeah.
And then, so some little like nods to horror movies that I didn't touch on during the episode. Taylor is standing in front of the Red Rabbit pub during the beginning of the film. And that is a nod to Halloween. It's the Red Rabbit book found by Dr. Loomis in the original Halloween. It was a nod to that.
I love an obscure reference.
So good. And let's see what else. The librarian, Mrs. Collingwood, I believe is her name. I could be wrong. Yeah. Is wearing yellow, which is a nod to Stanley Kubrick. I guess Kubrick's color in The Shining was yellow.
Okay.
And it has something to do with Native Americans. I'm not entirely sure what the background is on that, but I heard the director say that this specifically was a nod to Stanley Kubrick's color in The Shining.
Okay.
You mentioned Kane Hodder makes a cameo, and the address of the house that he's walking into is Nancy's address from the first A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
And then you can also see 3 girls playing jump rope in the background of the scene where Leslie is scouting potential victims at the school. Another nod to A Nightmare on Elm Street. And when Leslie takes the crew to meet Eugene, the car in the driveway is the same color, make, and model as the car scene in Sam Raimi's movies.
Oh.
Thought that was kind of neat.
Wow, they really put a lot of them in here.
Dude, they really, really did. The song from the end of The Shining is playing in the background while Leslie does his makeup. And it's specifically the song that plays when we see the black and white photo with Jack Nicholson, and it's from like 1920 or whatever.
Okay.
That song is playing. And then the town of Glen Echo is based on the neighborhood Scott Glosserman grew up in Montgomery County, Maryland. And Scott Glosserman grew up on horror and wrote his thesis on The Shining. And he put a lot of faith and trust in his cast and crew for this film.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot of really fun stuff. And I also want to say the character that plays Doug, the actor that plays Doug, his name is Ben Pace. He talks about learning a lot working on this film. It basically gave him a masterclass in acting, working with Nathan and Robert and Zelda, and honestly all the actors and the director. It was a huge learning experience for him, and it honestly just sounds like a really, really fucking good time.
We always love that,
dude. I don't know, there's just something about, like with Coherence, for example, there's something about somebody going, I want to make a movie. I cannot get funding for this. Fuck it. I am just going to make it. And I'm just going to figure it out.
Yep.
And this movie did debut at South by Southwest in 2006. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of little tidbits in this one.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you for doing all that research.
Dude, I love it. Dude, I fucking love doing the research. It's so fun. And I love this movie so much that I was like, I want to know everything.
Yeah. I love it. So we are going to, at this time, before we wrap it up, we're going to give our Patreon members a shout out. We have a bunch of top tier patrons, and part of the perks of that is you get a shout out on this motherfucking podcast.
All right, here we go. Our top patrons. We appreciate all of you. Rob Vogel. Hey, James. You have a really long username, and I'm not going to say all of it, but we appreciate you, James. Heather Drain. Franchise Driller, aka Ryan, All Tells, Josh Newman, Millie C, Adrian Galaviz, Chris Siego, Alexis Thomas, Adam, appreciate you so much, Adam, and James. Thank you so much for being top patrons. We appreciate you guys so much. I think I just called you top patrons when it should have been top patrons, but
you know, a lot of people confuse those two. A lot of people will say my Patreons.
Yeah,
I do.
Whatever. I do it all the time. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a second, that's not right. Whatever. It's all
we
good.
appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video also, or listening to the audio. We do have social media at Chainsaw Girls Pod.
And it's pretty much everywhere. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're getting better at TikTok.
Yeah, look at us.
I know.
We posted like 2 more since the last loop. We're like,
we're
yeah.
doing things. You can also email us at chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com if you have suggestions, comments, or anything, if you want to give us tidbits on the movies. And also, this will go live on YouTube at noon on Mondays, and it's a premiere, so you can chat with other people and us. And also, we love your YouTube comments. You guys tell us so many cool things about movies that we like didn't know.
I look forward to going and checking the comments like the day after it goes live.
Me too.
Love that.
Dude is the best.
Yes.
Okay, bye.